Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. And we're back with an episode of Way of the Underhive. Now this series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And today's episode, I decided to do things a little bit differently. Usually whenever I make a video on Way of the Underhive, I usually give you the breakdown of a specific faction, talk about their strengths and weaknesses, also talk about what alliances and brutes and hang-arounds they can use, how different campaign mechanics will affect the gang, that sort of general information for a lot of new players. This time around, I decided that maybe I might make some just fun and interesting gang rosters that you really don't see all that much on the tabletop. Necromunda has got a plethora of different things you can build and make some really interesting, unique gangs. And I thought it'd be more fun to actually create more fun and narrative-based gangs rather than maybe optimized or powerful lists. You know, something that you can just use to spice up your own campaigns and to make your games interesting as well. And because this video is different than what I usually do, I'm also open to suggestions as well. I'm looking about trying to make another video where I basically make a Xenos Corrupted House Gang and see exactly what kind of cool things you can do with that as well. So if there's some kind of interesting build that you guys want to see and you have some ideas about what that should look like, put it down in the comment box below and I might actually get to it and actually make that roster and actually present it how you could do it. So the purpose of this video, of course, is to create a gang that's based around the Shadows of Catallus Dramatis Personae characters. That's Arvalessa as well as Amarista de Catallus, as you can see there in the background. The House Catallus has got kind of this cool kind of carnival of death, space jester, killer clown type of vibe going on, using a lot of acrobatics and shooting as well as close combat to assassinate their enemies. There's got a lot of psychological things going on as well, which is quite interesting. So I decided to kind of create a gang around that concept and to actually make it kind of cool and make it operate very well on the tabletop. So that's exactly what this video is going to do. So what I'm going to do, of course, I'm going to talk about some of the benefits that you could get from the Aranthian Succession with this list, talk about some unique features that this list would actually contain. I'll give you a 2,400 point starting roster for it, as well as tell you how you can play on the tabletop with tabletop tactics. Also talk about how you can develop this gang as the campaign develops as well. And as always, because we'll be a little bit more of a deeper dive, I'm going to put timestamps in the description box down below so that way you can click and navigate to the part of the video that interests you the most. So that being said, let's talk about playing a killer clown posse and the future of Necromunda. Now, when it actually comes to the Aranthian Succession, I like using the Aranthian Succession campaign setting just because you get anywhere between 2,000 to 2,400 starting credits in order to create your gang. And because of that, you can make some really cool gangs with that increased credit limit. At the same time, you're also allowed to double the number of champions that you can have in a gang as well, which could also create some really cool power dynamics with your gang and also make some really cool combinations out there as well. Now, with that starting credit costs as well as the idea of doubling the number of champions, a lot of novice players get really nervous because what they think they need to do is double the size of their pre-existing gang to 20 plus miniatures for their collection. And you don't necessarily need to do that, and the reason why is because you can just take a normal sized gang and just fully equip them with everything they need to be successful. Things like better weapons and equipment and vehicles and upgrades and all kinds of stuff. Exotic beasts, all kinds of fun wacky things you can do with your gang. So that's what I would do. I would focus more on a quality of your build, whether you just have a handful of miniatures and you just really fully equip them rather than a quantity build. And that's the whole purpose of this kind of unique series where I'm making kind of new, interesting, kind of quirky kind of gangs you usually don't see. So with this gang, the idea about this unique feature of this gang is that you're playing a gang of killer space jesters from the future is pretty much what I wanted to do. I really like the idea of actually using a lot of Dramatis Personae as using them as gang leaders in gangs. Also, I like the idea of House Catallus, kind of narratively speaking, they're kind of cool. They're kind of like a Venetian Carnivale type of aesthetic going on with these guys, and they use assassination and they use close combat and psychotropic drugs and chemicals and brutal close combat and cunning and all kinds of cool stuff, narratively speaking, behind that. Now the problem is it's really hard to actually make a gang list with those things in mind and actually make them applicable on the tabletop. So that was the whole purpose of me making this video, was to create something that could do that. Now this gang is actually quite balanced in terms of the amount of shooting as well as close combat elements that are in this gang as well. And for added bonus, it also has chaos corruption as well for this. In fact, you guys would be pledging yourself to the Dark Prince, which is Slanesh in this case, just because the game mechanics of a chaos corrupted gang is quite quite interesting, and I think it kind of gels quite nicely with the overall narrative and aesthetic of what this gang actually represents as well. And like I said before, this one's modeled around the Dramatis Personae characters that are available in Necromunda from the Book of Peril, and this one's more of like a narrative kind of build where it's not so much optimized for like overpowering things or whatever, but just make something that's interesting and unique and something you don't really see too much on the tabletop. So with the unique features talked about, let's talk about your starting roster. So this is my Chaos Corrupted House Escher Outcast Gang for Necromunda set in the Aranthian session, based around 2,400 points. First of all, you're going to dedicate yourself to the Dark Prince, and the reason why you're doing that is because one of your benefits is that once per round, during activation, you can activate 2 fighters who are ready to go, and they can be group activated, which is kind of nice, so that way you can get a lot of actions done on the tabletop. At the same time, if you decide to get any Chaos Spawn for your gang, you get to roll 2d6 for determining the movement characteristic of that Chaos Spawn and pick the highest d6 that you rolled for that as well. And plus, your gang leader actually adds 2 inches to the movement allowance as well, which is quite good because your leader for this gang is going to be Amarista de Catallus, which is the Dramatis Personae character. Now, this guy's going to cost you 275 credits. You're going to make this guy an outcast leader, and you're give him the survivor archetype as well. Now, when it comes to his equipment, you're going to purchase armor undersuit for 25 credits. That's why it bumps up to 275. He automatically comes with mesh armor, so that gives him a 4-up armor save. He's got a displacer field, which actually gives him a 4-up ward save, but he gets moved in a random direction the same number of inches as the strength of the attack that's used against him. He's got a stiletto sword as well as a stiletto knife for close combat. Kim Sith, so that way he can boost the effectiveness of the toxin trait of his weapons. Photo goggles, so that way he can see in the dark. Respirator, so he can survive environmental effects. He's also got counterattacks, so that way he can strike back at his opponents. Impetuous, so that way he's got longer distance with his follow-throughs. Rain of blows, so that way his combat, his reaction attacks become simple as actions. And you also give him nerves of steel by being a survivor archetype, because he's going to be getting shot at quite a bit, and you're going to use that nerves of steel to pass cool tests in order to escape pinning. And he's also going to have 2 inches added to his movement, making him movement 7. Now, Amarista Aranthian Catallus, his twin sister, she's also going to cost 275 credits, and she's going to be used as an outcast champion in this gang. You're going to give her the Gunslinger archetype, and once again, you're spending 25 credits to get her armor undersuit, and when combined with that mesh armor, we'll give her a 4-up armor save. She already comes equipped with a needle long rifle with an infrared sight, as well as a needle pistol. She also comes with Kim Sith to make her needle weapons more deadly. She also has photo goggles, as well as a respirator base. She also comes with the infiltrate skill, precision shot, as well as trick shot skills. And because she's going to be a gunslinger archetype, you can get the fast shot ability, so that way she can shoot twice. Now, after that, you're going to have 3 other Outcast Champions. Outcast Champion 1's going to cost 180 credits. This guy's got the Mastermind archetype. It's also got armored undersuit with mesh armor for that 4-up armor save. Once again, equipped with a long rifle this time with an infra sight, so that way they can shoot in all vision conditions, with a last pistol for a backup weapon, as well as the infiltrate skill. After that, Outcast Champion number 2 is going to cost you 205 credits as another Mastermind archetype with an armored undersuit and mesh armor for that 4-up armor save. They also have a grenade launcher with frag and crack grenades for all that blast template goodness, and they also have a stub gun for a backup weapon and the Overwatch skill, so that way they can interrupt enemy activations. And then Outcast Champion number 3 is going to cost you 280 credits. This fighter's also got the Gunslinger archetype. This fighter's also got armor undersuit mesh armor for that 4-up armor save, and they're packing a Nightshade Kim Thrower, which is going to be a nice template weapon to use, with a last pistol as a backup weapon, as well as photo goggles so they can see in the dark, and you give them the hip shooting ability, so that way they can use the running gun double action, where they can move their movement characteristics increased, and they can also fire at the same time. Now today, you have 3 Outcast Hive Scum, 1, 2, and 3. All 3 cost exactly the same at 105 credits apiece. These guys have mesh armor, as well as last guns with hot shot last packs, as well as photo goggles. And that's the reason why you're also going with the House Escher build on this one, so that way you get access to all these wonderful Kim weapons, as well as last guns and hotshot power packs. Now, your other 2 Outcast Hive Scum, number 4 and 5, they're equipped exactly the same at 135 credits. They have mesh armor, as well as stiletto swords, which they can get from their House Escher lists, as well as needle pistols at a reduced price, because once again, they're House Escher outcasts, as well as photo goggles, so they can also see in the dark as well. And then after that, you're going to have 2 Scum Racers, number 1 and 2, both costing 275 credits apiece. Both have photo goggles, so they can see and shoot in the dark. They're driving Ridge Runners, both equipped with mining lasers for some good long-range heavy weapon shooting. And then you're also going to have a Rogue Dog Hanger-On, who's going to cost you 50 credits, who's going to equip the last pistol Medicaid kill, as well as Medicaid skill, so that way if any of your fighters roll critical injury, this Rogue Dog can save them. Now, you will have an alliance on this one, and the reason why is because by being a Chaos Outcast gang, you're automatically outlawed. So because of that, you're going to take an alliance with House Ulanti. And since you're a House Outcast gang, House Outcast gangs can only take alliances they have strong alliances with, and you're going to go with Ulanti on this one. Now, the benefit from this is that they have what's called noble entry, which means they can be allied with you, either you're law-abiding or outlaw. Doesn't matter to them because they're nobles and they don't care about that kind of stuff. You're also going to get the excessive wealth benefit, which means you earn 2d6 times 10 credits during the collect income step of the post-battle sequence, and you'll have access to the court advisor, which is the House Atlanti delegation that must be included if you fight against a gang allied with another noble house or with a criminal organization. Now, the reason why we're going with Atlanti is because you have to take that alliance, but these guys are also close combat fighters too, which kind of adds to that whole close combat nature that House Catallus actually has. Now, with your drawbacks, you do have what's called inevitable betrayal, which means that if your gang loses a battle, you must test the alliance, and if you fail your test, your opposing enemy gains the alliance instead. And of course, you also have the board now drawback, which means that if a double is rolled on your 2d6 for excessive wealth, you must test the alliance as well. Now, with this delegation, you have two fighters. One's called the Atlanti Courtier. This person's got a displacer field as well as a needle pistol with power sword. They have the duelist special, which means that whenever they get charged in close combat, they automatically get to fight first, no matter what. They also have the counterattack skill as well as step aside skill. And then you have the Mirror Mask, who's also equipped exactly the same with Displacer Field, Needle Pistol, as well as a Power Sword. They have the Many Faces special, which means they can swap position with the Atlanti Courtier and vice versa whenever they want to, and they also have the Nerves of Steel skill. So as you can see, this list is actually quite interesting. It actually takes the chemical attacks and chemical weapons that House Escher has available. They also have access to really cheap las guns as well as hot shock power packs. At the same time, they also have those wonderful lines of House Atlanti, which kind of adds that whole Carnival kind of court jester kind of vibe with close combat and assassinations and that kind of thing. At the same time, you also have two Dramatis Personae from House Catallus as well. So I think this is kind of like the optimal build where you can kind of balance the narrative of House Catallus but make it a little bit more effective than actually just creating a straight up House Catallus Outcast gang. And that is the roster that I have created at 2,400 points. So now that we're done talking about this roster's contents, let's talk about how you'll use this on the tabletop. Now in this gang, you actually have three fire teams. You have an assault fire team, a support fire team, as well as a sniper fire team. Your assault fire team will consist of Scum Racer number 1, as well as a Ridge Runner, Amarista de Catallus, who's the leader of your gang, Outcast Champion number 3, which is the guys armed with a Nightshade Kim Thrower, as well as Outcast Hive Scum number 4 and 5, those are the guys armed with needle pistols as well as stiletto swords, and the House Ulanti Courtiers, which is your delegation that gets attached to you guys. After that, you have a support fire team, which consists of Scum Racer number 2, as well as their Ridge Runner, Outcast Champion number 2, which is the guy who's armed with a grenade launcher, as well as Outcast Hive Scum number 1, 2, as well as 3, and those are the three Outcast Hive Scum who are armed with hotshot las guns. And then your support fire team will consist of Arbalesta Rain Catalyst, your champion, and Dramatis Personae character, as well as Outcast Champion number 1, which is the character who's armed with the long rifle. This is going to be your sniper team. Now your assault and support fire teams will start off mounted on their Ridge Runners, and at the same time your sniper team will deploy using Infiltrate, because both those guys have Infiltrate skills, and you want to put them in a good advantageous position where they can provide long range fire and also protect your gangs from a distance with some kind of overwatch to protect them from anybody that might try to interfere with them. Now, both the assault fire team and the support fire team will head towards the enemy, with your support fire team going straight towards your enemy's main body, while your assault fire team tries to flank whatever side is most advantageous for you. Now, when in range, both fire teams will dismount and fight using the Ridge Runner's mining lasers in order to target enemy vehicles as well as high value targets like champions as well as leaders. Now, Outcast Champion number 2 will rain down grenade fire upon your enemies using crack and frag grenades, whatever needs to be used. And you have your 3 Outcast Hive Skills who will provide covering fire with their hotshot las guns at strength 4 as well as minus AP, which is also kind of nice too. Now, while that's happening, your assault fire team will then flank. The Ulanti Courtiers will take point when they dismount, because if they get killed, they'll just be replenished at the end of the game. You're going to follow up with Amarista de Catallus, as well as Outcast Hive Scum number 4, which is the guy armed with the Nightshade Kim Thrower, as well as Outcast Hive Scums number 4 and 5, which is the guys armed with needle pistols as well as stiletto swords. Now, Outcast Champion number 3 uses the hip fire ability to charge ahead of the main body to lay suppressive fire with their Nightshade Kim Thrower, contaminating their enemies and poisoning them, while the rest of the fire team then charges in and slays any enemy fighters that are involved in close combat. Now, Amarista de Catallus is a beast in close combat. He's going to be a one-man army slicing up fools. He also has a 7-inch movement allowance when he does this. So because your enemy will be trying to shoot at him quite a bit, so make sure you get protection with him with that sniper fire team that you have or protect him. At the same time, you also have some really good close combat attacks with needle pistols with toxin traits, as well as power swords and stiletto swords, so don't be shy of actually engaging enemies in close combat. Now, your sniper fire team will cover your fire team's advances and also snipes at targets of opportunity or high value enemy fighters depending on the situation. Now, when you're able to, try to recruit another outcast champion so that way you can maximize your champion allowance, and give this person a mastermind archetype so that way you can give them the infiltrate starting skill as well. So that way Amarista de Catallus has Arbalista de Catallus, she actually has 2 fighters who can go with her as well. Now, I would suggest that this other champion be equipped with a big gun with a good rate of fire, something like a heavy stubber, for example, on suspensors, or maybe a plasma gun, or whatever the weapon you like to use the most. And also use your Dark Princess group activation to actually benefit you and actually have these guys do things in mass, so that way with the sniper team can really rain down some long-range destruction upon your enemies. Now let's talk about how this gang should develop as the campaign continues. So as the campaign progresses, start by purchasing Chem Sith for all your chemical attacks in the gang. You take an intelligence check that boosts the ability of your toxin as well as gas weapons. Your gang has a lot of them, so you can really put down opponents in close combat as well as with shooting as well. Now from there, I suggest you purchase last pistols for your Hive Scums number 1 and 3, so that way you have a backup weapon. Maybe get them hotshot blast packs as the campaign develops as well. From there, you can purchase weapon supports like those hotshot last packs I was talking about, and Escher Chem Alchemy in order to improve your chemical attacks. So things like for the Nightshade Chem Thrower for all your needle weapons, this will be something you want to do that. Now in order to do that, I recommend you recruit an apprentice clan chemist, so that way she can reduce the cost of your clan Chem Alchemy for your gang for future purposes, so that way you get those really unique effects and cause all kinds of problems to your enemy with those toxin attacks. Now, when you're able to, like I said before, recruit another outcast champion with a mastermind archetype and give them the infiltrate skill as their starting skill. That way you have additional support for your fire team. Now, I would recommend equipping this guy with something like a heavy weapon, like a suspensor, like a heavy stubber with a suspensor, for example, or a plasma gun that maybe has monosights on it or something like that. Something that with a high rate of fire for extra punch, so that way your sniper team can shoot at enemies at a long distance, but also can rain some high automatic fire as well. It could also be fun to recruit some exotic beasts for this game, like fear cats, phalanxes, as well as chimerics. You can kind of go for this nitro circus, like crazy menagerie kind of vibe, like an evil circus clowns or something, and that could be a lot of fun too on the tabletop if you actually see what kind of things you can come up with. Phalanxes are actually quite good in mass if you put them together. Your fear cats can support your champions as well as your leader, and a chimerics is just all kinds of fun with a giant mutated creature running around clawing people and then contaminating them with poison attacks. Now try to keep a balance of support between both your assault fire teams as well as your support fire team as your campaign develop. Make sure you kind of equally balance them out by getting the same kind of purchase allowance for each side, so that way they can kind of balance, and then both sides can do as well as they need to. This way both aspects of your gang will be really deadly at the tabletop, both in terms of long range shooting as well as in close combat. So in conclusion, this is going to be a Chaos Corrupted House Outcast Gang using Slaanesh as well as using Dramatis Personae, which is the Shadows of Catallus, as well as having those ability for the Elani Courtiers as well, getting access to all those cool toxin and poison assassination type weapons that Escher is associated with. You could also do some really cool things by getting some of those exotic beasts in there as well and causing all kinds of problems for your enemy. It could be really cool to see what kind of cool things you can come up with. And like I said before, the whole purpose of this video was to build a gang around the Shadows of Catallus, Dramatis Personae. I think they're very interesting. I think that the whole aesthetic of House Catallus is actually quite interesting as well, and it can be really cool to see these kind of things up on the tabletop as well. This is something that's fun, unique. You don't really see a lot of this at all on battle reports on YouTube or people talking about it, so I thought it would be kind of neat to make some videos more in that vein, where you're kind of putting cool, quirky, kind of interesting gang lists together and seeing exactly how they do on the tabletop. And like I said, if you have an idea for an interesting, unique sounding gang, please let me know in the comments below. If it's interesting and it's cool, I might make a list for it. You know, I'm just looking for some new ideas, for some new content for this when it comes to Way of the Underhive. So that's going to do it for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blog.com for all those greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good to do it for you guys. I will catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.
Bye.